Well, Treasury Secretary Mnuchin not mincing words at all on Sunday about cutting taxes, regardless of what the CBO or anybody else in Congress say about tax cuts adding to the deficit. Take a listen.
We believe in dynamic scoring, and under our growth models at the Treasury, this will pay for itself. And again, we may not get full credit for that. There may be short-term impacts on the deficit, but we want to be very careful in paying for this with growth. But we also need to boost the economy. We need tax cuts and tax reform now.
All right.
Yeah,
I don't know if you can hear Grover.
Growth.
This is Grover Norquist, Americans for Tax Reform. President, my co-host was saying, yeah. I mean, the point is, he is taking on the pencil pushers, the people at the CBO, maybe Mitch McConnell, the people who don't believe in the dynamic effect of tax cuts to change the economy. The pencil pushers, I think, will lose to Steve Mnuchin. What do you think?
Absolutely. Look, this administration, the House and the Senate, are determined to do this. There's economics. We need more growth. We should be at 4%, and we're still coming out of the Obama 8 years at 2%. And we need to compete with the rest of the world in lower rates. But there's a political factor driving this as well. If you're a Republican in the House of Representatives, you would prefer to be in the majority rather than the minority after the 2018 election. And strong growth in 2018 will maintain a Republican House. And for Mitch McConnell, strong growth for the first 6 months of 2018 so that it's recognizable before the election. No good having strong economic growth the last half of next year. People will notice it too late. No. So you need that growth now. You need it strong. You need people to believe it's going to continue.
But well, hold on a second. Let me just stop you right there, because one group of people that I know don't believe that tax cuts have that extraordinary rejuvenative power are the people at the CBO. They're the people that are going to be scoring this thing, adding things up, and they will probably end up being against what Steve Mnuchin just said. Do they win out? If they have the ear of Mitch McConnell, they have the ear of Paul Ryan. What happens when Paul Ryan says one thing and Steve Mnuchin says something else? Well,
the administration, Congress, can, in the legislation, instruct joint tax to assume certain levels of growth if they can't figure it out themselves. At the end of the day, also, if a box is made that's smaller than we'd like for tax cuts, you could make full business expensing temporary, knowing full well that, like with the R&D tax credit, once people get used to it, they will never want to give it up.
Okay, but you're getting a little, I just want you to look generally speaking. If Mitch McConnell, let's take the Senate in mind, if Mitch McConnell has to choose between what Steve Mnuchin says, which is forget about deficits right now, we need growth, and that means tax cuts, despite what the CBO says, who will he believe? Who will Mitch McConnell believe, Mnuchin or the CBO?
Mitch McConnell will go with Mnuchin and growth. One, because it's sound economic policy. Two, because he'd rather have 5 more Republican senators rather than no additional Republican senators after 2018.
Very good. One final word on corporate taxes. A lot of companies left the United States, went to Ireland, where the corporate tax rate is 12.5%. If it only comes down to 20%, will that be enough to motivate those companies to move back here?
If you go to 20, we stop the hemorrhaging. If you go to 15, I've had Swiss companies tell me people will be moving into the United States, not out anymore, but in. I'd rather 15 than 20 for that reason, but 20 stops the bleeding.